The Vampire Lord is a power that was introduced in the Dawnguard DLC, and it serves as an extension to the traditional vampirism. It allows players with vampirism to turn into a powerful Vampire Lord, a huge humanoid creature with sharp claws and bat-like wings and a unique perk tree. Most of the bigger Vampire Lord mods that try to overhaul the system do so mainly by focusing on the Vampire Lord perks. There are 2 mods that are supposed to allow Vampire Lords to fly, but I could not get either of them to work for me, quite possibly because of mod conflicts. Regardless, the Royal Bloodlines perk overhaul also lets the Vampire Lord fly through a new perk, and that one did work for me, and was also a very cool addition to the system. I tested out 2 different mod mixtures, so let's go over each one. The core mods for this mix are Humanoid Vampire Lords and Royal Bloodline. Humanoid Vampire Lords allows you to stay in humanoid form when changing into a Vampire Lord. It should work with all body mods like CBBE, UNP, etc. And it should work with all armor and physics mods as well. What it does not do is change any of the Vampire Lord's powers or perks. So in theory, it should work okay with mods that change powers and perks, but not the Vampire Lord looks or its body. Humanoid Vampire Lords is fairly simple for the end user. The mod will give you a new spell, and to set your desired look for the Vampire Lord form, you simply equip all of the armor and gear that gives you the look that you want, and then use the new spell. Again, it's a really simple process, and you don't even have to keep the armor and gear that were saved to the Vampire Lord form. That's right, you can sell it, destroy it, store it away, whatever. While in Vampire Lord form, your main armor will be stored away until you revert back. And the second core part of this mix is Royal Bloodline. This is pretty much an extension of the Vampire Lord perk tree. This new extension will start unlocking once you have unlocked all of the perks in the vanilla Vampire Lord tree. There are some very cool and useful perks in the extended tree, like Sanguine Perfection and Sharpened Talons, which increase the magnitude and damage of blood magic and melee damage respectively. Another good one is Summon Gargoyle Goliath, which allows you to summon a boss variant of the gargoyle. There are also a new spell ward called Sanguine Shield that costs 35 mana per second and blocks up to 70 damage. But in my opinion, the best new thing this mod adds is the ability for the Vampire Lord to fly. This was the only flying Vampire Lord mod that worked for me. Flying across the countryside at night is glorious. Sacrosanct is a great mod that I covered in my previous vampire episode. Regular vampires, that is. But while Sacrosanct does a great job of covering regular vampirism, it also covers the Vampire Lord abilities with new spells, powers, and perks. Sacrosanct Vampire Lords do not regenerate magicka in magic form or stamina in melee form, encouraging you to switch often, and new perks increase the power level and variety of both forms. In general, the Vampire Lord excels at dealing with large numbers of enemies, starting out with an area of effect spell and having access to several perks to further improve their ability to dispatch crowds, including spells to pull them together and stun them while dealing cleave damage. Vampire Lords will receive the following abilities. And they will receive the following spells and powers. The Vampire Lord perk tree is expanded from 11 to an insane 31 perks, with many of the perks affecting your mortal form as well. Now that is an amazing amount of perks, and I have to say that the naming of many of the perks is pretty awesome. All in all, this is a great mod to extend your playtime with the Vampire Lord form. And here we have arrived at the end of another episode of Mod Blender. I hope that it has helped at least a few of you decide on what Vampire Lord mods you'd like to run yourself. If you use any of the mods here, please be sure to thank the mod authors with endorsements and donations if you can. They devote tons of their free time to help keep us entertained, and they do it for free.